Hello, everybody. I'm Doc Daddy T, Mr. Big T Anderson. We're going to be doing ourselves a little bit of fan fiction reading. Still with Genshin, we're going to be doing some motivations by Thrushsong. Now, I've had to do this once already because I could not speak. I do get mush mouth at times. But I do hope that if you enjoy the story, please share it about. Let people know. Even if you think that I'm just one big dancing fool, if you like the stories, if you like the fan fiction, why not share it about? I don't mind that you don't like me, I just mind that you like the stories. In any case, let us begin. Child managed to hold himself together just long enough to get to the private location and ensure it was secure before quite literally collapsing in a heap. He'd managed to slide himself down the wall instead of crashing straight to the floor. But he could tell he wasn't going to be going anywhere until he'd actually managed to rest a bit. His hands were shaking. If he were in the habit of lying to himself, he'd say it was just the adrenaline. As it was, he knew he wouldn't get anything resembling rest until he'd figured out what in the Sait's name had just happened. Aether hadn't killed him. In order to protect Tutsa, Child had been forced to show Aether exactly how much of a threat he could be, and then display incredible weakness almost immediately afterward. After the Golden House incident, Aether would have had to be a naive fool to actually trust Child, and he'd shown enough wariness that Child knew that wasn't the case. It was possible Tusa's presence might have been a deterrent, but Child wouldn't have been able to fight. It would have been easy to keep Tusa from noticing anything. All it would have taken was one well-aimed blow. And Aether would have eliminated a major threat. But Aether hadn't taken the shot. He hadn't even tried to summon his sword. Child had spent the entire conversation bracing for a strike that never came, and hoping that Aether would at least make sure Tusa could get home safely. After that, the older ones would make sure everyone was taken care of. He hated the thought that they'd have to because of his foolishness, but they would be able to manage without him. He'd made sure of that long ago. When he'd scraped together enough strength to stand, he honestly expected Aether to act the moment he turned his back to walk away. Every instinct in him had him screaming not to let his eyes off the potential threat, but Child had known in his state, seeing the attack coming just wouldn't have made a difference. It never came, though. That moment in Dotoria's old lab hadn't even been the only opportunity Aether had missed. True, taking Child out in the middle of Northern Bank could have caused Aether problems, but then after the Golden House incident and his awakening the Overlord of the Vortex, Child's reputation in Leeway was so terrible, Aether likely could have avoided most of the consequences if he played it right, especially since there had been no one around who'd even seen them talking. Everything Aether had seen today would have shown Child's priorities extremely clearly. Protecting his family first, his duty to the Harbingers second, and everything else was a distant third at best. Aether would undoubtedly come into conflict with the Harbingers again, and knew that Child wouldn't hesitate to fight him again. Aether's goal of meeting the Seven would be difficult enough without needing to fight at every turn. He should be taking every advantage he could get. And eliminating Child would definitely be an advantage to Aether, one less threat to counter in the future, and an extremely dangerous threat at that. So why hadn't Aether taken his chance? Protecting family is something I can understand. Child's eyes widened in realization that was it. He'd made the mistake of assuming that Aether's enmity with the Fatui, with the Harbingers specifically, it was one of Aether's main motivators. It had been a major part of their interactions with each other, but Aether's attempts to keep Child from taking Rex Lapis Gnosis was not because his primary aim was to hinder the Fatui, or to keep the Tsaritsa's plan from reaching fruition. Child had been distracted by the audacity of Aether's quest to meet the Seven and forgotten the real reason behind it. Aether wanted the Seven's help to find his family. He was only at odds with the Fatui in that the Tsaritsa gathering all the Gnosis might prevent one of the Seven from being able to help him in his search. The Gnosis situation in Liyue had already been resolved. Child had indirectly revealed earlier that day that he would continue to be stationed in Liyue indefinitely. That could change, of course, but currently Child himself was no longer a direct threat to Aether's quest to meet the Seven and search for his family. A search that was likely to take him into Snezhnaya, and Child had just given Aether an open invitation. Aether didn't see Child as a threat. Aether saw him as a potentially useful contact, and so Child threw his head back and laughed. It's been quite a while since I misread someone so thoroughly. It seemed he and Aether were more alike than he'd thought, now that he'd realized it was almost shocking that he had missed Aether's tendency to collect powerful connections earlier. An honorary knight of Favonius owed a favor by the Liyue Shishing, and now a personal invitation into Snezhnaya by one of the Harbingers? And that wasn't even accounting for Aether's apparent ease meeting and gaining influence with Adepti and Archons alike. Oh, Child was eager to see what Aether had and what he would do when he took up that invitation to come to Snezhnaya. It'd be a shame if Child's orders changed to send him out of Liyue after another Gnosis. He appreciated a good fight, and of course, it would be nice to get an excuse to go all out against a worthy opponent instead of some friendly sparring. But it would still be a shame. After all, Tusser would be so disappointed if his new friend never got the chance to visit. So hopefully you've enjoyed. Once again, links down below, as always. Now, pardon me for just a moment. Let me get out of my garb here. Anywho, for those who wonder, I actually do. That is my natural accent. I used to live in the Hayseed area. It's like boony, small town Hayseed area. So that was my natural accent for many years. It actually took me a lot of reading to get to this. So. I know I missed a couple words. However, I also know, hopefully, I felt that it was still really good reading. And I hope you enjoy this. If anything, as I said before, please share it about. And leave a comment. You guys know what to do. Everyone's on the internet long enough, at least. Let me know if you like it, or don't if you don't. And with that, I shall let you go. Adieu, and have a good one. Ta-ta for now.